Welcome. It's Friday. It's dark outside. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, it's like really getting so much darker, so much quicker. I mean, it's not even forced, and we're starting to feel like by 5 o'clock Pacific, we feel like we're in the gopher hole already. There's been a lot going on. I hope you guys have had a great week. So I'm going to go through some like really kind of fun things. And I decided most people always see me in the other part of the office, but you don't too often get back into my therapy room. And let me tell you, not too many people do get back here either. You got to go through quite the screening process to even get in here. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm Karen McDonald, and it's wonderful to have you guys here. So I'm going to go through a little bit. I mean, it's just been such a turmoil. My gosh, the NASA like scanners have like shut down. The weirdest things have gone. Like even I haven't seen anything that weird for a long time. So if you go to my Twitter, I just put it up on my Facebook, Discord, I think Telegram. I'm going to get them up all over today. But I just sat there. I thought, well, what's going up? I haven't looked at anything because I've been so busy doing amazing sessions for people. I mean, I can't get over the awesome response that I've had. I'm really grateful to Ryan Williams at Insight Health Apps because he is really doing a phenomenal job here. And if you haven't looked at it, do take a look at Insight Health Apps because right now they've just extended their Black Friday till like over the weekend. So you've got 3 more days if you want to take a look at that. You literally can get biofeedback apps and devices, and I'm not joking, for as little under $50. And some of them, it's like $10 a month, for the next whatever, like 12 months or whatever. You can make out installments. I've never seen anything like it in my life. There was a package there I looked at today, and I'm like, are you kidding? Are you joking? And literally one of the $1,400 packages, he was giving $1,700. He was giving actually one of our neurovisors like totally away. And I was like, no way. Like, you're serious? And I had to go look at it. It was such a great deal. I had to put it up for everyone. So all the different apps and stuff like that, every one of these ones you see here was actually on sale. And I was like, holy jeez, there's something for everyone. So I actually started doing demos, and I decided I'd do a special for the weekend too. It was going to be to Friday, but I think I better extend it to Monday now too. So if anyone is interested in a session, what I'm going to do is basically 30 minutes, 30 frequencies, and give me a call. You can gift, barter, or donate. We'll see what that 30 looks like. Anyway, so do give me a call. So every once in a while, I do things in the back of the actual health center here. And I've always liked to make it more of a spa than anything else because a lot of people aren't aware of what they can do. So how many of you actually have a dedicated room or a dedicated spot that's your go-to place, your Zen place, your meditation place, your relaxation place? But a lot of people go, what the hell does she have in the back of her room? Well, I'm going to tell you, this is my room for me. And if I want to bring people into it, that's up to me. Right now, because when I used to run all the health centers and all the clinics and have all the staff, that was a whole different ball game. That was then, this is now. Now it's basically like, you have to be pretty, check all my boxes before anyone gets in here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what you could do, because one of the things that I've got actually brewing back here is actually, and this is one of the things, we'll start with maybe cleaning. I think that's really important that if you are a therapist, and I got to tell you something, I was in the local area yesterday and I went to, again, someone that was supposed to be doing breath work, right? It's not like we haven't been doing that with Lisa Kush and other people that were actually starting this up like 15, 20, 30 years ago. What we would have called pranayama, or at that point out of Saskatoon, we were literally taking people to Manitou Lake. Manitou Lake is one of those few Dead Sea, it's denser almost in the Dead Sea lake in there. And what happened is it was on top of potash mines, and so people would float. And so we used to basically not only have you doing breath work, but we could actually start you almost are like not quite sensory deprivation, but once you have your eyes closed and you're floating in the back of a pool, and this is not a swimming pool, this is such a salt pool that you literally can't sink. So we would be basically just cradling you under our hands, and it almost simulates to you being in that warm, salty water is to being in the womb. So we started doing some really cool stuff with, not only in the womb, childhood regressions, but also past life. So one of the things I really got to know, and of course, I've always been into sound and frequency and getting the right tones up, is that one of those ones we could really see the difference when they started using, let's say, old Gregorian 440 chants. People actually went into trauma. I heard people screaming. They were reliving, and a lot of them seemed to, it was always connected to the Vatican Church, go figure, right? And so anyway, that was one of the things that was traumatizing. But when we moved it into, let's say, 432 or other frequencies that were coherent with the actual individual, everything calmed down. You could actually do emotional releases, but without having a lot of the trauma attached to it. So that was quite a learning experience. But anyway, last night I went to one and there was going to be 4 or 5 people. I thought, oh, what, the hell, we'll see what it's all about. And that becomes a problem, In there, I walked into the room and kind of listened to her, like, who are you? What do you do? I'm a body worker. I went, that's pretty ambiguous. Well, I do massage. I said, so are you an RMT or an LMT or what? And she goes, no. And I said, so what exactly are you? A reflexologist? No. And she said that she had gone to Vancouver, to take body work. Well, okay, so that's a big, long description. So I'm like, so where did you learn this? Or, where have you been mentored with? Or what did you just decided to throw one together? But it was interesting because the music she played wasn't frequency. It was actually kind of not even quite disco-y, whatever. And I'm like, this is not my genre. It actually wasn't something I could get to the rhythm to. So to get people to move or stuff like that, or do a cat's position or a downward dog or something before you start going into breathing, it actually wasn't one of the top breathing ones I've ever been to. I'll tell you, in about 20 years. But more importantly, it took me less than about 15, 20 minutes. And I felt something when I went into the room. And how many of you guys lately have felt, again, I don't care if you call it the heebie-jeebies, do you feel the shedding? You feel the waves of transmission coming off these people. And within seconds, I knew when I stepped in that room. And despite me having, of course, I took my air tamers, right? I had my wearable air tamers up here and I had them hidden, but they're always on me, at least 2, if I'm out in public, by the way. So I had this on, I had all the essential oils, and I dosed up. I did all my pre-spike stuff before they could get at me, right? And so that was one of the things I thought should be okay. I'm tucked in the corner. I'm at least 6, 8 feet away from people. That wasn't enough. All of a sudden, I just felt nauseated. I could feel the head rush, and I literally could feel, it feels like you're getting a radiation burn, like you've been under a suntan bed way too long. But I felt that, and I was like, oh, geez, here we go again. And so this is, again, you guys are being very, very careful, because what happened is you go into a lot of these, whether they're drum circles or massage circles, or we're going into yoga. Okay, all sorts of people are having this supposedly healing circles. And I'll tell you, the majority of them took the jab. And I still to this day cannot get over the amount of people that don't realize that when you put something up in here, your P.C.R- whatever, is not a test. When this goes up and in here, it leaves this graphene up in here, guys. So just because they go up there with that little key tip, that's not a tester. It leaves the graphene, and what you're doing is you're leaving all this stuff inside here. Okay? And that acts like the same thing as if someone put that injection into you, and again, they pull out the needle, but what's left again is all the graphene, okay, that floats all over the place. So you got to be very careful. So, of course, what did I do? She goes, well, I'd like to, touch everyone and do Reiki and adjust your breathing. Well, if you need to adjust breathing, why do you need to touch anyone to start with? I mean, seriously, you don't. If you're in there coaching. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable with you touching me. And she says, well, will you be okay if I, come close and I can just talk to you? And I looked at her, I said, actually, no, I'm not comfortable. You could do the courtesy of staying at least 6 feet back. I said, I'm one of the few people that's probably unvaxxed and not jabbed. You better watch that for my algorithm today. I might lose this one. And you know what? I said, and I don't want you to go home bleeding tonight. But it didn't even last that long. It kept getting hotter and hotter, and it was prickly. And I thought, you can't biofield this one, and you can't do the, basically piloerection inversion out of this one tonight. And so literally I had to leave. I just couldn't take any more than 20, 30 minutes just being in the same room. And I don't know if there was just her, 2, 3, but it seemed cumulative. And that's one of the things you're going to notice. You notice the Schulman waves are going up. You notice the corneal mass ejections are going up. The atlas is up there and things are rocking. You can't just have 7 volcanoes that haven't erupted for like the last 10 or 12,000 years. and expect that our Earth geomagnetically is going to be the same. It just isn't. And so in here, and lo and behold, and you know what happened here recently too, next door to us in the Okanagan, Penticton, Summerland, Peachland, which was all just in the lower part of the Okanagan, is they had a very large, even though it was only, it's a 3.5 quake, because the week before it was only, 1 point whatever. They felt this all the way. It went from like literally about 2 hours, people were still reporting they could feel it. They heard it, and some of them felt it. So when I looked at the map and I went, geez, that's got to be at least an hour away. So you got to look at the radius of this. So things are moving. These fault lines are being, it's like playing pool, right? Where you're playing stripes and solids, all of a sudden, boom, you're starting to, bank shots off the side here, and things are moving, you guys. So you need really to be quite aware of this. So what did I do in that situation? I knew I'd been like just heat stroke. That is radiation. That's acute radiation illness, right? So what did I do? You take your baking soda water, and I went and I got some potassium iodide, just like I'd been exposed to something, which I was. So, 4 shots of little drops of potassium iodide, and I kind of settled on my amethyst bed for the rest of the night. But you have to be very aware of that. So what I have in this room is no different, or at least it's pared down. Okay, so even in a room as small as this that I use here, basically, it's just my little playroom. But it also can be used to take clients in. What we have, I've got my BioBear, so I'm going to kind of give it a walk here. One of the things that's important, it's not a big deal if it's just you, but if you are a therapist, you should be appropriately dressed. And I still, if I'm working with clients, I either have another set of clothes, or I've got my covering or my scrubs, or I use my lab coat or something. Right? Because it's important. I don't still want to mix with people. You don't know where they've been, what they've touched, what they've come in contact with. Okay. And things just like dust particles and smart dust and everything, and whatever geoengineering is coming down, it settles into you. So that's actually one of the most important things, in there, is to have another set or change of clothing in here. And that's one of the things I have in here. I have a couple house robes, and I got little foot slippers and stuff like that. It looks quite sposh on the back end here. I've got the drums on the walls and all the musical things and sort of just basics. But in here, in simply, and I wanted to do this to show you what you can do in something simple, even in just a little, like I said, 8x8, 8x9, or a 10x10 room. You don't need a lot of, room to do this. I've actually done colon hydrotherapies in certain, clinics that literally have been less than the size of this, let me tell you. So one of the things is to always have, I've got a couple different massage tables. I was really blessed to have known George Peniel, which was probably one of the top, and still is as far as I ever know. It was probably one of the top custom made massage table makers. That man was an artisan with wood. So I went in there and went, yes, I want my maple, right? And most little tables are somewhere about 20, 24 inches, right? Like they're not big. And I was like, half my clients, and especially if you're guys, like you're pretty big. Right? This tiny little thing, I went, where am I going to put them? And of course, you get people that are bigger than 5'8". So you get a lot of guys that are, 6'2", 6'4", and you need to have that room to maneuver around. So this table is actually all hand done. It's close to 3 feet wide. It's just a little bit smaller actually than a small little single bed, a little twin bed. And so in here, I had everything custom made, and back then, and you got to imagine 25 years ago, it was like $1,200. I hate to see the cost these days, but I thought that was imperative, right? And these are nice. They raise and they lower, and in here, it's great. I can adjust it. So, obviously, if I'm doing colon hydrotherapies, it's going to be at the highest setting, because wherever your table is with that client, you've got to be able to have a bit of a downfall. So depending on the sort of therapy we're doing right now, I've got it kind of mid-sized up here. And it's just comfortable. You got to be able to stand over whoever it is, and you got to be able to do your massaging here, right? Or whatever you're doing, or your reflexology if I'm at the back end doing cranial, sacral, whatever. Normally, I don't have all the charts up, but I put them up today for you guys, right? I usually want something more sparse, or a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have all the charts on one side and all the natural stuff on the other. We've got a lot of lights around here just so that you can see properly, because it is dark outside. But one of the things I usually have, I'm used to working in basically almost no light, or having just very small little goosenecks, or just, I've actually got some like sort of twinkle lights back here on here that are just very, very soft. Once I know what we're doing in here or going with the client, I can basically just put all my essential oils into one or two things. And basically, I like to have it relaxed. There's nothing more irritating. In there, I actually, in a lot of the rooms too, as I would actually find, is it's nicer to tone down, either getting into earth tones or getting into some of those really nice in here. And here I've got kind of one of those minty kind of turquoisey kind of green. It's almost like those, mint patty sort of greens. I actually change this color out in here about 2-3 times a year because I get tired of it, by the way. So it might go into whites. I've got another version that goes into the grays. And then I have another version in here that goes into all those fuchsias. So depending what I want to do, because I get bored looking at the same room too. And I'm sure you guys do, in there. So, I don't want anything too hot pink or feminine. Neither do I want these bright oranges and a lot of yellows and stuff like that, because they're very irritating on people. So when you look at it from a feng shui point of view, you want it very, very, relaxing. And the more we subdue it, so if I take some of these down in here and we take these lights down, you're going to see a little bit more of as we're getting into the ambiance. Some of the things I don't usually like to have mirrors, but what I found is because we're doing a lot of more facials and more stuff like that, people want to see what they look like. And I've been having such dramatic changes in people that they want to see what they look like. And right now, if I put oils on and you're detoxing, I want to show it. I have had so many clients come in here lately that were literally pale gray ghost. They look like a gray, and I thought, I don't feel well. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. They're anemic when they go in. I've had a lot of them too, just memory loss, brain fog. Regardless of whatever the cause is that they're not feeling well. And so actually I had that happen a couple of days ago. We were talking about it. And twice today, I don't know what it was. Today was I have a foot and hip pain. Everything was hip and lower back pain today. And so I did a lot of shows like that. And one of the things that we found is that once we opened it up, and I said, where are you feeling it? One said, I'm feeling it in my foot when I'm doing the biofeedback. I said, cool. And the other one felt this coolness coming in, and like a rush went up there about half an hour later, because we're opening up those meridians. And it's very common that I'm looking at people and I will see their color change within the hour. And that is a compliment. One, they did it themselves. Two, they got their butts into my clinic or they had a session with me, and you literally can see the changes. So that's one of the reasons I have the mirrors here. If I'm doing colon hydrotherapy, and I don't have the machine here right now, I've settled that away for a bit. But even if I'm doing enemas or I have a Kalima board, and I think I'm going to show you that next week, and we'll do a little bit more colonics and we'll go more into the hydrotherapy part next week here. But when I have those here, is I keep these mirrors up and I lower them. And you want to know why? Because I want you to see your shit. I want you to see yourself unloading physically, mentally, and emotionally, and watching that colonic happen. And a lot of people just don't realize how important that is. Okay, because literally I've had to stop the machine. I said, I need you to look at it. I'm not going to detach it from them. But a lot of times that's also why I have a camera here, is because I can take pictures. I can stop it and show the worm. I can stop it and show a liver fluke. I can, show some sort of a parasite coming out. So that's one of the reasons I like to do mirror. If you want to do some exercises and stuff back here, or just some yoga, it's nice to have one of these. And again, mine's really portable. It can be put anywhere. So that's kind of one of the other setups I have. So we've got the massage table. We've got a few things. And of course, the piece de la resistance is actually sitting right behind me right now. And that is, I've got several of them. Actually, I can do 4 or 5 people here. And I have done that where I've had friends here and had yoni vaginal steam parties for me and my girlfriends. Okay. And so I just brought one of them. I'm heating one of them up now. You can literally put, if you've got at least one chair without an arm to it, like what we have back here. Okay. So you can see that there's actually one of the different chairs here, right? And this particular chair, if I had that next to a couch or something, I could actually sit my butt on it. Or again, here's my other one. So you know what? You didn't know. Most of my people don't know if they come into my room what that is looking like. And guess what? Guess what? It's actually another yoni steam chair. So these are very easy. And right now I've just got the hot plate under here. So let's take a look at it. We're just going to go over here a little bit deeper. Oops. Okay, so I want you guys to see the setup here. And I'm really glad I swept the floor and vacuumed it today too. But in here you can see that there is, and I just went down to the dollar store just to get stuff that can sit on the actual hot plate, not explode on you. So it could be Visionware, it could be stainless steel, it could be whatever, you use to do cooking or teas or stews or whatever you want. On here, what you're going to do is heat it up, and you can actually boil it up. And then what I usually have, and I just brought these here for you guys to see, because it's really, really important here, right? I mean, here is actually, besides a wine glass, but I want you to see that that is just loose herbs here. Okay, so that's actually be one of the things that we're going to be putting into here. A lot of people, and I just got a whole collection. Thank you, Joseph. But anyway, some of the hereditary chiefs sent me some different eagle feathers, and they sent me a whole bunch of medicines here. So if that's what you're into, that could be used as well. So there's nothing wrong. And how many people have thought about actually getting organic tobacco here? Okay, there's your organic tobacco. And you know what? You can put a little bit of it down into here. Or you could put it all in there like what I just did. Okay. Did you ever think about steaming that tobacco? Okay. We can add in a little bit here of what's called sage or sweetgrass. Okay. You can go actually probably if you got half of these spices in your cupboards here. And again, we can put a little of the cedar wood or a lot of the cedar wood, whatever you want in there. And of course, one of the favorite things I like to do here, right? Let's add all those flowers in and make a mess all over. But I want you to see what that looks like. Okay. This is not rocket science here. Okay. So this is going to go in here and we're going to heat it up a little bit, and you can use it for facial steaming or again for vaginal steaming. So that is an essential part of having that. And I usually suggest if you're going to get one, you might as well get two. Okay. You'd be amazed once you start doing something, your friends want to do it, right? So, and it's quite often I will bring someone into steam and have someone on the table here, which has got a hidden jewel inside. I'm going to talk about an amethyst biomat here after we're done. But in here, I can have someone steaming at the same time I have someone here. So quite often I might have a mother and a daughter and a mother or a son or a couple. A lot of times I'll do couples as well. So those are kind of fun. So what else can we do for excitement? Okay, those are getting to be some more things. Again, having everything around you, whether you've got ledges, and I really don't like to see stuff. I am such a minimalist. Okay, so when you see my stuff, just because I brought it out, it's actually hidden behind drapes here. Those drapes can part. And then there are like literally 8 feet of herbal medicines. Okay, so whether I want to do different massage tables, I want to have the accessories for them. I want to have different linens. I also want to have towels and face cloths, different pillows. But one of the other things I have in there is also nitrile gloves. And that's one of the really important things that a lot of people forget. Even if you are a therapist, if you're a hairdresser, anyone that's touching people, we have got to learn about what really went down in the last 4 or 5 years. And I would strongly encourage you to get some nitrile gloves. I literally found some on Amazon, and I used to have the blue ones, but I got these wild purple ones this week. And so it was literally $6. If you go to a medical supply place, it's $30, $40 in Canada to get those 100 gloves. But I want them all, I don't want, the rubbers and the powders and everything else, because if you actually know what you're doing, it really doesn't change the texture that much. Actually, I can feel pretty well I can do pulses. I can do all sorts of things using the nitrile gloves. So very, very important to me. Hairdressers, why aren't you using gloves? We got so many people sick. It's just ridiculous. So, and we want to welcome Deanie's here today. Sharpshooters up here, and said that you also bought some iodine just in case the Tawumpy pushes the red button. Everyone should have that here. I've got it in pill form. I've got it in liquid. I got 3 different forms of that here. Okay. Also apple pectin. If you don't get it, remember what you got. Apple pectin. Another thing is rhodiola tinctures. Okay. So there are a few different things you can still use up your sleeves just in case that happens. And most important, baking soda. Alkalize with radiation illness. Same thing if I take people for chemo and radiation, and getting them when they're getting done their stuff. These days, like I said, it's pretty awful to see what's happening in here. So one of the other things too is a lot of people like to have crystals, and I actually do have crystals all around, but they're usually hidden in the room because I don't want them all out. Or if I have children, I don't want them playing. I have actually lost some of my $500-$600 16-inch crystal bowls and different singing bowls, and those quartz bowls that can be really in there. So a lot of them I keep hidden now or just in there. So there's nothing wrong with actually having a few toys. These are still fun to play with, and getting your little bowls to sing and stuff like that. It's quite an art. You can get that to go. So you have to go into the stores and actually find what you like. Some sing for you and some don't. It's amazing when you're next to someone and you hear this going over your system, right? Again, it's not about just playing Guacamole, or I think I'm going to, play some fake shaman or something. It literally is about using the different frequencies. The other thing as well, I have lots of sets of amethyst in here, quartz, selenite, and lots of these crystals can be used not only in here, but for acupuncture and massage, okay, and facial. So you need to test these out. There is something, I don't talk too much about it, but when we do auricular therapy, or actually it's for any reflexology point, I want you to see the difference between basically here, like a selenite wand or crystal wands or frosted or whatever you want to do. All those are fine and dandy. But what happens is, in order to get in here, many years ago, we have something here. It's very small. Can you see it? It's very thin. Look at the size of my finger here. Okay, it's not that different. And so it's actually called an auricular probe. Okay, and it's very almost rounded here on the top, if you guys can see properly here. Okay, so that is actually rounded up, and it's used for putting essential oils, but going into the ears and going very finely into those points. Okay, that's why it's called an auricular point, because we all become oracles and we look like Yoda after a while. But in here, I have found nothing better that goes into all the acupuncture points like this, up and down, along the spine, and also into the feet for reflexology. So how many of you have heard of auricular therapy? You guys all up on that? And Dr. Paul Noget, because that's part of what we do in biofeedback. And that's one of the things, if you're playing with the Genius biofeedback, or if you haven't got your trial, do you know there's over a dozen trials I can give you guys? I may talk about the Genius, but they're BioVibes, there are fractals, there are all sorts of things that you can try out and put for your water, your crystals at home, or do like a feng shui. It's not just about playing 528, but all of them can do that. The difference is on one of them is I can create anything I want on the planet, right? But a lot of your base ones, you actually can get that. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you a little bit was getting some of the maps. Now, these are available always on Amazon for about $10 to $15 up here. Okay, it's nice to be able to do that. I have that built into the biofeedback. That's why I like the Genius, because it has all my maps and my grids and my meridians and everything else. Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, I have those in there. I also have the YouTubes that are flagged up that you need to look at Dr. Lee Bartel from the University of Toronto and talking about music as medicine and how they are getting people, and all the studies they've done in Toronto to show that biofeedback and frequency is actually helping people with Alzheimer's and dementia, attention deficit, addictions, all that sort of stuff, as is my favorite new psychiatrist. I thought I'd never say those two words in probably the same sentence, but one of them definitely is Dr. Cody Rall, R-A-L-L. And Cody's an amazing Navy psychiatrist that started playing with different light and sound. And he's really into things like the Muse and headbands. And these are not wearable. And I know Sabrina talks about a lot of stuff. So does Tony Pantalleresco. And I'm hoping to put them together in a show, by the way. That's what I was up till 2 a.m. doing. Hint, hint. But one of the things is that we are not using these as wearables. Okay, they are putting out a light. So even when we're doing lights flashing, they're putting sacred geometrical mathematical patterns. We are not going in to doing implants. We are not going into healthcare 4.0, and we are certainly not uploading that to the cloud. You are taking the music that I create and I make, and the lights. My gosh, how many people have been to actually, like, to music festivals? As you see, drones can go to the music, so can the lights or fireworks or, pyrotechnics and stuff like that. So one of the things we've been doing is actually coordinating the lights, and the lights will actually convert the sound into the frequency and into a light show. And from there, you're going to be seeing really cool fractal geometries. If you didn't want to see that, and I'm going to do that here shortly, if you did not want to see that, you don't have to. You could just listen to, are we going to work with the gamma part of the brain? Do we want to get your brain relaxed, and get it reset into the 40 hertz? Because it's really important that we do that. And one of the things I wanted to do, just to show you this, as we put some of this stuff here out of the way a bit. And again, there are so many different things I like to have just at a finger's touch. And if you have cupboards around or little shelves around, that can be handy for you. Or another hint, always when we hit in our colonic room, if you weren't moving your massage table around too much, which I do in here because it's too small a room. But in a big room, what I actually do when you can walk all around is literally, I have got little shelves underneath, so I can just pluck things under there and, linen stuff. So one of the things in here, I'm just going to actually put this on here with what we're doing with the NeuroVisor, and we're going to take a look at what's going on. So there's my little teddy bear here. This is my client today. That's my bio bear. He's having a nice little snoozy here. And one of the things as well, when I go on to here, we are going to go in and we're going to pick one of those patterns here. And so one of the things, we just want to have a really nice one. This one's called Sunset. It's just about reacting. And I'm going to go look right now. I am going to look to see if that light is actually working and see if it's ready, or if I can find it. Or if it's not on, then I need to actually kind of, turn it on and see if it's around. Oh, it sounded. So now that I turned it on, I'm going to connect to it. And I want you to see how you can use this in a way that's quite workable for you. So as I go back, it is actually going to have a countdown. And I've got a 30-second timer because as a therapist, or let's say even if it's for me, I actually want to go in here and start relaxing or go get under my covers and things like that. So we have a bit of a warm-up period and a bit of a cool-down period. And for me, 30 seconds is more than enough to get into bed, turn off the lights, and just chill out. And take some nice deep breaths and use some of these different techniques that we have around you here, okay? So this is pretty simple for us to do. And so this is going to start in about 1 second. And, some of the different things in here is now you're seeing the lights going on, okay? So again, it's not that big a deal, okay? So now they're having some relaxation. And again, you have no idea, and it is creating a very, very relaxed. And you can actually adjust the brightness or as dim as you want. If it's something that really bothers you, and you got to remember, my little bear here, okay, has also got the headphones on here, okay? And the reason why is because they're listening to the music. So if you don't want to use the music and you just want to use the NeuroVisor for all those hundreds and hundreds of programs, you can. And so let's say if I just had the bear on there, or you, pretend that's you, and you was just listening to it like this, then what is going to happen is that you can actually keep it down here. You don't have to have it on there or even getting it up into your face or up onto the top. Once you move it out about 2 feet, you actually don't see it. You're getting the effect, but it's not changing anything while your eyes are closed. You won't get that till you start bringing it into about 1.5 feet away. So that is a really important thing to do. And these are very easy to put on. And I can run the Genius and this at the same time. You have no idea how many people love this. I've had almost all my clients come in here and they want to get one. And right now they're on sale at Insight Health Apps too, because they're normally about $800 on sale for $600 right now. So one of the things that's important, if you want to put one of these together and on, it's very simple to do it this way, or like I said, prop it up, and have it 1.5 feet away. It's not going to bother you. You're still going to get a watered down version of it. You won't be seeing quite the streams. But to put this on, you just simply Velcro it on. I look like I'm going to do something important. Look like I'm an ophthalmologist here, a neurosurgeon. And literally you're just going to clap it on here. Okay, and again, like I said, if it's too much for you, you can put it here. Or what I've said to people, if that's just not working for you, for gosh sakes, go get some iPads. You can do this at any time or put your hands there. So I've actually had people do it this way, and it's not bothering you, or you can adjust it so you're only just seeing a little bit of stuff at the top. Okay, so there we go. So I wanted to show you that. That's really kind of a cool feature that I'm really enjoying these days. And again, you can do it without this. So you can get the NeuroVisor with all those hundreds of programs and frequencies. And again, once you plug this in here, right, with the headphones, you're not going to hear it from your iPad or whatever, but you're going to hear it while you're in the comfort lying down. Okay, so those are actually some pretty neat things here. And so those are some of the fun stuff. Like I said, if you haven't tried it, and this is what I said to people, when are you not going to use it? You're not going to use it, obviously, if you've had eye surgery, if you have a whole bunch of seizure issues, and you got some photosensitivity. But as I said, like anything, you got 30 days, you got a month to try it out. If you can't figure it out in the first 5 minutes, then it's not for everyone. It definitely isn't. But for those of us that like it, it's freaking amazing, let me tell you. So that is actually something that if you haven't seen it, I wanted to bring it to your attention. So that is one of my new cool toys that I really, really, really love. And like I said, if I hadn't had such an overwhelming experience, myself, and I've tried several other ones, and this $600 one, as Dr. Cody Rowell found, it outperforms the $4,000 ones, right? And I remember seeing these with Brain Tap and all those sort of things many, many years ago. It's huge. So these are one of the things in here. I talked about getting essential oils if you're in the States. Basically, New Directions up here, Key Aroma Shop. But for gosh sakes, do you know you can get essential oil kits here, you guys? Amazon.ca, Amazon.com, all of the different ones can be organic and therapeutic. So if you're not sure, call the manufacturer. Don't ask me. Call the manufacturer. So a lot of times they say pure and natural, but I actually happened to read further. I went, no, it's been batch tested. And I went, oh, it actually is therapeutic. So a lot of times you actually need to talk to to that particular individual. So the other thing that's really, really imperative back here, okay, we've got smudge bowls. We've got to have our ambiance in here. Take down the lights because I prefer it being like this. Even when I'm talking to you, I'm not one for bright lights. And all of these in here, we change them to incandescents, right? In the therapy room, just when I had my clinic, I didn't have fluorescents. I had all natural lighting. I had to replace everything and in the ballast, which was a lot of fun. But we did that. We did that ourselves because, it's really important that you're comfortable. So if you're working under a place where they've got fluorescent lighting, for God's sakes, even under your station, go out and get some tubes because you can get natural lighting, just like you want to do grow lights and stuff like that for plants. Very, very important. One of the things I also have underneath here is always have your supplies nearby. So a lot of these in here will be different things. If we're doing ear candling, you guys have got to get these. These are called cactus agave gloves. Okay. These are used for massaging. And you will thank me and thank me and thank me. They're called Sayala. Sayala. But you have to look out for cactus agave mittens, not gloves, mittens. Okay. And we don't leave home without it here. And that is a game changer for all of us in here. Like I said, I have several of these and they will come about 3 times the size. You can wash them and hand wash them, but for gosh sakes, don't put them in the dryer. Otherwise you'll be stretching them for the next couple months. These are amazing. These have lasted me years and you can just throw them. I put them in the washing machine and then again, just hand dry them. Those make a difference. This is the only thing I have ever found that actually exfoliates the skin properly. Did you know that? Really, the only thing I've ever found that really exfoliates this properly is this glove. The loofah, the brushes, and any of the other gloves just didn't work properly. This can also be used, if this was my client, with a little bit of baking soda or a little bit of borax or a little bit of actually sea salt or Celtic salt. And then you can do, and literally all you need is about 4 or 5 grains. Otherwise, you're doing a full salt scrub, which can be done, but you better have a lot of plasticized thing, or, I used to use basically plasticized like tables, table covers and stuff. So there you go. Those are some of the fun things, like I said, to have. It's so, so important that you're relaxed and your friend, lover, other half, children, clients, whatever, are relaxed. So everything should be within a reach. That, as a rule, when we are working with clients in the old days, we would never break contact. If I had to go get something, I'd touch them with my elbow and keep it there. That was then, this is now. Okay. The least I have, the least amount of damage someone can do to me, or the less amount of time I need to deal with something, that's it. Other things in here will always be supplies that we need. I do ear candling. So we just did some ear candling here, and I did some ear flushing. Okay. So things that I want are ear candles. I want extra bamboo skewers, stuff like that you would use for whatever the therapy is that you want to do to yourself or other ones. I always have extra herbs here, and a lot of times I give my clients here, there's like bay leaves and damnia, and you can even put cannabis in there, but lots, as you can see, calendula, roses, lavenders. I've got over 30 loose herbs in here. It's my all-in-one fix. And what will happen is, quite often, I will give the clients at least the size of 1 tea bag to go home and start with. So my clients go home with usually a tea bag, loose tea. They will go home with a vial for homeopathic of essential oils and spring water that's been imprinted. So these are really, really important. So like I said, getting your nitrile gloves, getting those things if you're a therapist, because you know what? I am really disgusted at what people are doing for sanitization and for just basic hygiene and grooming. Every time I've gone to basically some sort of function lately, and again, I just told you about the one we did with the breath work. I had the same thing happen at a yoga, massage, Reiki, whatever they were doing, and I kept them all away from me. And I literally, I chewed a couple of them out because inappropriate. Someone was in there doing Reiki that knows nothing about anything. These people are not masters. Do not assume because you paid $2,000 to $5,000 you know anything about health and transference. You do not go between people. Even basic hygiene and nursing, you wash your hands. Even usually my children knew that when they were toddlers. Again, you go in, you go out between people, you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, minimum. And these days, like I said, it does not hurt to get these around. The other thing too is always, Q-tips and all sorts of things in here, and just different products. I have also different things in here, syringes, and anything you think might be useful is probably going to be useful. So all of those things. The other thing too is because we're doing ear candling, got to have the ambiance. So a lot of times you can have lots of different candles, and again, unscented or very light, but make sure there's soy or beeswax or something like that that's not putting party light and paraffin into the environment. There's nothing worse than coming in and feeling like you're being eradicated here. So those are some of the different things that might be very helpful to you. One of the other things too is having balms. So I will have some of my favorite ones in here. Gardener's Dream. I have my girlfriend Sherry. Thank you very much. Sherry's in Kelowna. And she likes to actually give me her favorite twin turbo, which I was using for my back. Thank gosh she sent me some. But it's a healing Cannabomb. Okay, so there are different people and different things in here. And different things float for different people. I can also take any of these and re-imprint them too. So great point there, Danny. Washing hands is something that I was tested on in basic nursing. I know, frontline nursing and Canadian frontline nursing, they all failed. Don't even get me started about that. But, this is the problem that we see. And there's a problem, literally, in, like I said, when you see this over and over, and like I said, it's a whole thing. We've really upped our game once you know the holistic, the naturopathic part of it, but the quantum part of it, people need to use their brains these days. And a lot of stuff I don't need to do. I actually will give the clients now gloves and they can hold their own ear candle, and I'll just make sure that, it's not coming down. I put fabric, I've got holes in, they're covered up, they're better covered up than with the burqa when they're in here. So one of the other things, very, very important. And so I wanted to bring what's called microblading. And okay, we're nurses. Hey, you and I know this stuff. I actually, all my stuff in here too. You would recognize that, but I've never opened it yet. Okay. Never had the necessity to do that. The other thing too is saturation. And if you need a heart rate, pulse oximeters. And actually I do have my stethoscopes. I've got 2 of them in here in case we need that, because I probably am the only, I think, colon hydrotherapist I've ever seen using a stethoscope, checking bowel sounds and actually listening, not just palpating and swishing someone's abdomen to see where the water is and how far I've progressed or where they think they've progressed. I'm probably one of the few that pulls out a stethoscope to go listen to where the actual water is during colonics, enemas and colemas. So having said that, it's in the drawer, right? We're so used to it for years, going around and doing this kind of stuff. But seriously, those are certain things that, again, to have, if you are one of the health professionals or you're coming from that allopathic hospital or out in public health and you're transitioning, it's not bad to have it. Just like one day, probably next week, I'm not sure if I still have it. I think I put it away. But anyway, if I have it, I'm from the old school where I have got the wings and 2 black stripes. I earned those straps, right? And so, yes, someone's asking, it's a cactus agave, Agave, cactus, yeah, agave. And it's Sayala, S-A-Y, if someone could type that, S-A-Y-A-L-A. Look it up. Never leave home without water bottles. And the reason why is this one can also convert into what's called an enema bag. These are not just for putting over castor oil packs or people that are hurt. You can use cold water, hot water, all sorts of things in here. But actually mine is set up actually to be an enema. So in the event I can't find any of the other 40, like some enema bags around here and extra catheters and Colema boards and colonic machines, I have a backup. These are really handy to have, right? And if you see Marcus Rothkrantz, he'll show you how to do the home enemas. And again, nursing, we were taught way up here. It's got to be, it looks like it's on an IV pool. I don't. I usually keep it just literally a few inches above. You can even put it on your knees if you're on the table. Or a lot of times I get a coat hanger. It hangs from actually the doorknob. And I've gone to many people's homes and done home enemas and stuff like that because they're sick. This is the best lost art. This is one of the biggest lost art of being a nurse. Nurses that could do enemas, and I have an actual book from the CPS compendium in the pharmacy that had 4 pages of all the different variations of enema recipes. They had milk, like their milk of magnesia. They had saline. They had the salt. They had Epsom salt. They had castor oils, Castile oils, all sorts of stuff. Lost art, let me tell you, on here. And so one of the things as well, going into just getting people, is they need to relax. A lot of times lights are too bright. And, it's not the same thing. There's something about having a little bit of weight on you and having your eyes closed. iPads to me are a must. I know it's nice. People like to have lavender and buckwheat things and that little bit of weight, but that moves all over the place. So this way I can use it, while I've got my earphones on, headphones on, and it doesn't interfere. It's very lightweight. So, what are these? $1, $2 at the dollar store? Like we need to invent stuff and get them in there. And like I said, there's all sorts of stuff. I like to have also, different cups here just in case you need it. I've had people have to spit out gum. We've had to take out, dentures, things like that, whatever it might be. I've also had people that want to go test their urine. So, these are things that, not only for drinking or dispensing. And when I put something in here, I don't have to touch them, on there. And another thing too, if you've got great things like liposomal, vitamin C's, not only for skin, but, they're really toxic. A little bit of vitamin C shot never can hurt. Now comes my favorite drawer. I wasn't joking about the enemas down here. Okay. Never joke. Oh my gosh. There are so many different things and in these drawers. I don't even know where to look anymore. This, most nurses would realize, is a what? There's a catheter. This is a 14-inch French. These are the rubberized catheters. And the reason why is we've got two different kinds of actually enema bags here. And one is an enema that they make. And the other one, I don't even know if a lot of nurses know this unless you're down in emerge or something or needed it on gynae. This is actually vaginal like a douche. So these are basically almost like regular IV bags, but I use them because they're reusable. And the reason I got these is one, I can go in here and extend this. But the other reason is that if I was in an emergency and I had to deal with 20, 30 people or something happened, I'm not going to reuse the same thing. But these are like $1, 75 cents or $1. So I can actually just reuse this and keep the main tubing. So very, very important. I will tell you, one of my favorite stories is I was out camping and they didn't have a shower. They did not have a shower at all. And I'm like, no, I'm out for 2 weeks, left by myself, dropped off, having my little vision quest in like Cypress Hills. I'm in deep trouble. And so what I did is I had one of these. Okay. So I warmed up the water and I went into the outhouse and I hung it up, and you can use it as a portable shower. It's got many purposes. So again, what am I going to put in here? I'm going to put in loose herbal tea. Well, not loose, but press it out first. But you can use tea in here, Epsom salts, essential oils. I've used peroxide. The only thing you don't use this is because there is that plastic component. You're not going to put any citruses in here, especially lemon, and start leaching your microplastics. So in here, but any teas. I know people like coffee. Once in a while, I don't mind, but certainly not every day and not on a daily, or after a while, people are so acidic from this. It's really a bad thing. I've had more people get sick and stay acidic because they were doing this 3-4 times a week, mainlining like, minus 25 on the Richter scale. So, I mean, minus 25 isn't even on our scale. So anyway, it can be pretty bad. So it's really nice to have these. And this is in my go-to bag, pretty well. You've got to have those available. And like I said, the other thing I love is doing aromatherapy in here. So clove or digees, things like that. Gingers, you can do up ginger tea, all sorts of teas, rat root, whatever you want. Osha, shaga, reishi, mushroom tea. All of those teas can be put into here in combinations of stuff. But I find also doing some stuff in there. So Danny's got another one here. I have to modify my dollar store mask with beads for weight. It works some days. It really does. I had to, a lot of people have had trouble sleeping. If you look at Stefan Burns, right? And Marguerite and all my stuff I've been posting for you guys with the Schulman Wave, and Michael, Mr. MB333. I love Michael. Jane Wigington, right? You've got Diamond Oppenheimer Ranch. I mean, you got Dr. Rich Allen Miller. Everyone in there, my friends, is on this now. David Sarita, who's not on it these days. But one of the things is, people are not sleeping. And the insomnia is in there. And one of the things, I brought out my holofill. I can't use chickens and stuff for a lot of reasons, feather duvets, but I've got a holofill and a qualifill one that's washable, and that weight can make a big difference for people. It really is there. So yeah, if you haven't seen Stefan Burns, STEFANBURNS, he was just on. So anyway, you never know when you're going to need a sewing kit, let me tell you. That's just got to be a must here. And so a lot of the things go on and on and on. And like I said, from a nursing point of view, or whatever else is in here, like I said, you can have your dressings and things like that. So I'm not going to drag these out. These are in the kitchen right now, but these are actually called ozone. These are ozonators. So I can actually produce and ozonate the water, or ozonate whatever else I want. So you can get these ozonators. And I've got $1,000 one here, but let me tell you, my little ozonator here for $60 does just great. So those are some of the things that you can go into, and look at that ozonator. Really, really nice, because O3 can make a huge difference. So I can ozonate the colonic water, any of that stuff too. And again, supplies, because I am a colon hydrotherapist, but I really want to imprint on you that the difference between a colonic in here, right? And putting on, this is the colon hydrotherapy one here, by the way, the enema, is that when you put on that little French tube, which is nothing, and I want you to see how big my finger is, and I want you to see, here's my baby finger, I want you to see how small that is, okay? Okay, and when you have a piece of fecal matter that's usually about that big coming out, this is nothing. And neither is this. This is a colon hydrotherapy speculum, right, that we put in. So basically this goes into the client, and then basically similar to an IV, the actually colonic machine would come through here. And then once we pull this arbitrator out, this will go into the actual waste disposal, or in through the machine, or into the bucket, whatever you're doing. So I want you to see, this is a very small size. This is like a pediatric size, which is, I use a lot actually for adults anyway. So you can never have enough supplies for that. That's all I got to say in here. And one of the other options too, I'm going to show you guys a few other things. We've talked about yoni pearls in the past, haven't we? But I also do a lot of the traditional Chinese medicine, and you can make a yoni pearl or a dental pearl or a pack, and you can actually put that right in to the belly button. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. What you would do is take a little peanut and basically your little yoni pearl, which is the size of a raisin, and you actually use this. This is like a sticker here, like basically a two-way Band-Aid actually, or you could use a Band-Aid. But this is actually on here, and what you would do is put this actually on the belly button. So basically I would put my little bit of herb onto the belly button here, and then I would actually put my bandage right into it. So that's another thing. So these are available on Amazon. How many of you have ever seen that? You've probably heard about people putting urine in there, essential oils, castor oil, putting their own saliva into their belly buttons, or navel cannula, but have you actually tried it or seen it? So these are actually for navel herbs. Okay, rather than putting them on fire or incense, you can even cut incense down and put it in a lot of times. So those are some of my like favorite things. And of course, I always have all the loose things in here. You never know when you are going to need basically Elastopass and stuff like that. That's my like first aid stuff in here. So there are gauzes and cotton balls. Everything's organic, by the way. So I want you guys to know that everything is organic. And one of the things that we use for live blood, okay, in here, don't use things, they're called Kim wipes. They're actually non-paper, like non-pulp products. They're like a Kleenex, but they're not. And one of the things is to have your alcohol swabs. But the other thing too is to have what you would normally see for blood sugar, right? Which these are basically used here, that you would go in and actually prick your finger to get, like we used to do in the old days in neonatal, to get glucoses and blood sugars and stuff. But right now what you can do, because I'm not into the wearable stuff, not everything is an advantage. But once you clean off with alcohol and do this, this is where we have our slides here, clean it off. And we actually have what you would use like air blowers to clean like your computer, like for an air duster. And basically let the drop go on and then cover the slide appropriately. So right now, if you're into live blood cell, or I have these here, because you know what? How many of you know that you actually can send dried blood to a therapist? Obviously, we can't do live because we're not there with you. But how many of you are aware that you could get your supplies or have them mail them to you, and they can do dark field microscopy, and you can just mail it to them or courier it? Okay. Very, very important. So those are some things there. So you need to check with your local professionals. Up here for Western Canada, or anywhere actually on the world she could do it, is Lorraine Andries, and she's at truehealthcanada.ca. So if someone would be really awesome, they could put that in for me. Now I'm multitasking. So truehealthcanada.ca is Lorraine Andries. And Lorraine's a wealth of information. She does biofeedback, nutritional microscopy, live blood cell microscopy, but she's one of the few I know that will do dark field, and you can always mail it to her. So very, very important. So those are the kind of things that I want really quick, because you never know what happens to people. One of the things I wanted to show you too, this is my favorite little thing. It's called a frequency wand. And I used it the other day while I was actually ear canceling someone, and they go, "What? What are you talking about? Why are you using like, plasma and argon and violet rays and stuff like that?" One of the things that's always been in the beauty industry is a knockoff version of basically the Tesla wand. It is not the same as an analog. I am not nearly thinking that you would replace $100 wand with basically a $2,000 toolkit. But of course, the toolkit usually has 20 to 40 attachments. Mine only has 4. And again, that's the difference in there. But I have actually taken the analog stuff and interfaced it with my equipment. Go figure. So there's a lot to be said for Tesla stuff with the old copper wirings and stuff. But one of the things in here is the Tesla wand. And so I'm going to bring that up because, you know, they kind of looked at me. I said, no, your ears are really bad. I want to get some plasma in there. How many of you guys that are nurses or otherwise know about how to use one of these Tesla wands or high frequency wands? They're called high frequency because the beauty industry uses it a lot. These are portable high frequency wands right there. Okay. Amazon, I love you. Okay. So in here, basically, you can just clean this off with alcohol. So not a bad thing. You know, get used to cleaning your products or spritz them off. Or you got to watch. Sometimes they do essential oils, but it's not for everyone, right? So in here, these are wands, and you plug them in. Okay. And what we're going to do, can you guys hear the buzzing? Okay. You see the light? Okay, so there's a little bit of a shock. It's starting to shock. Well, it's about a quarter to half an inch off the body. You can already feel it. You're going in because the body is electrified. That is why you can feel it off the body. So Sabrina's right. There's a biofield. Okay, so in here, I have got combs. So let's say you wanted to comb someone's hair. These are great. People forget that this is the highest chakra that there is. Okay. Okay. So this is a great way. Everything, all your roots, DNA, everything is in here. Okay. So this, when you put it on, you actually tingle all the way. I'm tingling all the way right down to my knees and to the floor right now. These are amazing, and you can adjust them as you need it. And normally what you do, you put it to the skin first and then turn it on. Okay. So there you can see it's going. So the only difference, like I said, for the most part, I was actually kind of shocked, but I was actually pretty happy. I went, you know what? My little knockoff thing has been working great. So in here, we can use it for facials. You can go up and down any area. I want you guys, we're really going to go over Tesla analogs and stuff like that. And I like Zish. So if you look at, quite often, I'll put his contacts up because he's probably one of the few people that's really refurnishing stuff rather than them buying them new. But you got to remember, most of this technology is like 100 and some years. Like my Tesla generator here, 20 minutes away, is 127 years old. They have light bulbs that are with hemp filaments still burning after 127 years. That's over 100, right? Okay. So these are the different things. And I was actually pretty happy to start doing it. So if you've got anything like skin, radiation, ozone is totally different. Okay. And this might be something, which just reminds me, I should tell this to a client today. Really bad Morgellon and Lyme's. Something like this is not quite the same thing as PEMF, but the plasma is high enough frequency. And because you're putting this, you are producing the O3. Remember I just showed you that ozone machine, right? So the ozone machine here is basically producing that. And I can smell the ozone in here. You'll never forget ozone. So these are different things that I will go over the client and do that with them. There's also, you can use, they have literally rectal, dental, thyroid, back, every orifice you can think of. There's when you have 20, 40 of these things, but this is actually just, a very spotty one. You just needed fine work or dental, right? Or a lot of people, if you want less lines, okay, you're concerned about those, lines coming in, okay? Grain, you're bringing in plasma back to the body, right? And so really, really, and I did it here actually with the guys, and I put it in, and it sounds like I have 3,000 bumblebees in here right now. But I actually used some of these for the ears the other day because I've got one of the clients is constantly having, it's more chronic ear things. And literally when I did the ear candles, I should save it if I do it next week, is it in there? This is actually what I used, to go into the ear like this, right? Just to really get in there, turn it around, give a little yoga massage. But we went through all the different lymphatics and stuff like that. So these are very inexpensive, but quite cute little toys to do things when you're on a budget. And they work, they They may not have the same 100%, but if I can get 90% out of something, this is something that I wanted to tell people that you should be aware of, because a lot of people aren't aware of this. This is what the doctors all used to basically the 1920s and 30s, and the nurses, by the way. So if you go back and you study the Tartarian mud flood and all the medicine, nurses were using this, you guys. Okay, it didn't matter what the condition was. There, for every condition, they used those. So those are some of the other ones. I wanted to bring also to your attention, we're going to go more into skincare and wellness and spa stuff next week. These are actually basically called microbladers. And the microblader, you would first spritz on with some saline salt water or some sort of, you would go up and down here. And what happened is I discovered one of my brands, I would start hearing implants off people. I'm like, holy jeez. Use this. Some people use megaphones. Some use stud finders. Some can fill them. Some go for MRIs, x-rays. Don't say what their real name is. Put fake names in. But this was the amazing thing. So this is actually used on here, and you microblade. And these, again, were $600, $700, $800. And I've got one in the closet, not out here. I'll bring it out maybe next week. It's actually gold tipped. Okay, so what you're getting is the gold or the silver, and you're getting that mineralization on a lot of these. The other thing you do is you flip the tip over, and it's called the thumper. So we would use actually a cream or a serum or vitamin E or combinations I have. And this is the facial. So you're actually, the first one is actually at 20,000 vibrations per minute. So let's get that straight. 20,000 vibrations. So when you're putting that water on, you're scraping it. It's better than windshield wiper. Okay. And then you're putting on your serums and you're sealing it in. So one is a scraper, the other one is a sealer. Or you can go look for your friend's, implants if you want. Those are really nice. So those microbladers, again, are now on Amazon. And in the old day, I would get it from the same company that makes what we call the amethyst crystal biomats. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, because I think it's really, really important. I had a nice little chit chat with one of the top distributors in the world that was one of my original biofeedback colleagues and students with me when we graduated back in 2004. And it was actually pretty amazing. And so how many people have seen these red light therapies? Okay, I just had a friend and a client that was hit by direct energy radiation out of the Kelowna West Bank in British Columbia. We'll just say direct energy weapons, right? That would manifest as you think as a friction fire, right? Laser fires. And so what happened, a lot of these people are having, again, skin issues. They are having wires, filaments, sloughing, biofilm, wax coming off. Can you imagine this like a snake? They're sloughing their entire skin head to toe, aside from basically electrical wires coming out, like literally electrical, metallic wires coming out of them. It's an awful disease. I've dealt with clients for like 20, 30 years with that easily. And so one of the things is that a lot of the people started losing the hair. How many of you guys know of people that have been having hair loss, thinning of hair, colors of, the change in the color, the texture of their hair? And it could be either on your head, it could be facial, it could also be pubic. A lot of people, which was kind of interesting, people that started doing really the piloerection and getting into some of the biofield healing was Solana, Sherry, Fox, Sabrina, and those things. Actually, I've got one of the people that they actually noticed a few of them. They said that they were actually hairless, and now they can actually see hairs coming up because they're training their system, their antennas to come back. So it was almost like a biofilm that they're, like the floor and the villi all of a sudden were flat and they couldn't see any. And there's a bunch of people starting to develop hair, which I guess could be a thing. It could be not a thing if you got sugary. One of the things is one of the girls did, and you can get a facial mask. You can also get a head helmet here. Or this is one that I absolutely love. Because again, you're seeing the red light therapy, right? If you really did not want to touch any of these, you can get the old like floodlight, like a chicken lamp or a heat warmer. It was an incandescent red light bulb. So that is still available. It's on Amazon. And sometimes you'll see it in the, seed and feed, or garden stores. And they're usually about $30 or so. But if you don't want to have that, and I had that like probably 40 years ago when I was young, but now it's a different matter. So this is actually
one that comes actually, and you can actually get a waistband of Velcro, so you can actually put it around your waist or actually secure it wherever you need to. But one of the things I love in this is that basically in here, you've got the red light therapy, right? So this is something you can have, again, near the skin, on the skin. You can lie on it. It will heat up. Now, this has got 3 different settings to it. It's got the 660 and the 880 nanometers, but it also has where you can get them all. So you can actually play with it. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it's actually vibrating. And so it actually has a pulse that pulses out at 10 hertz. I went, that's not bad. It's above the Showman wave. You know, it kind of reminds me of going to those hotels, right? And they used to have that. You put the quarter in, right? We go hang out with Dad, and we'd fight for the bed with the like vibrator in it. But anyway, that's actually what it feels like. There's just a light pulsation to that. And so you can put on timers. You can put on brightness. And again, you can do blinking, one, the other, both, or whatever you want. And I'm happy to report my girlfriend is growing her hair back after like less than 2 weeks. So a lot of people, it's not just throat, thyroid, radiation issues, being around people waxed and shed. Very cool thing to have. Amazon. So those are some of the very cool stuff. And one of the other things, we'll go into just some biofeedback at the end, but I really wanted to talk about one of my most favorite things that I've ever had. And one of those things is this amethyst crystal biomat. It's from a company called biomat-canada.com.ca. It's Christina Van Art. She's out on the island. Like I said, she was multiply trained in biofeedback, quantum medicine, a wealth of information, you know, and she decided to specialize this instead. But, you know, way back when, I absolutely just adored having these. And I'm going to tell you what I have seen. We have put clients on here. This used to be underneath all my colonics, all my massages on low. And yes, you can crank the temperature up to whatever you want. But I quickly found out, never have it on high after you've done a full raindrop massage with hot, wet towels. Not a good thing to do. Keep it on low. Okay, so it's nice to have the EMF field and all those sort of things. But it literally, and they've got a new sonic bed. So that's going to be my next little adventure. So underneath this massage table, okay, is actually a 40-pound amethyst crystal biomat. And these are one of the first biomats. And again, you can change it. These were actually geared. It has 7 different layers, just like my bed does. It's all padded up. But when we get down to the treasure down here, I want you to see what's underneath these beds here. Okay? That's an amethyst crystal biomat. It's very thin, but it detoxes out alcohol, tobacco, cholesterol, heavy metals, people that were smoking. I have literally myself taken people on crystal meth and crack in the old days and had no DTs and no detox symptoms. Okay? No herxing, no healing crises at all. I also had this bed underneath in hospitals and used it in the hospitals as well. So those are some of my favorite little tools there. And one of the things in here, it has a control box, which I will get to here eventually. And what happens is when they're plugged in, you can leave it, and we used to do it 3 different ways. Is that you could do it without, wonderful, I got it all locked up for you guys here. But you literally could have it with just the crystals on. And I'll bring this over in a minute. You can put the power on it, and you can see it's blinking lights here. So the power would go up and down, kind of like an EMF. It's kind of great to 2 to 4 hertz. There's a timer, and then you can turn the light on. And you would see it going on. And that's when you're getting people in. You're creating basically an artificial fever. And that artificial fever here is creating the detox. And so I had someone the other day aside from all the stuff we know about Tylenol and everyone's been talking about lately, but that is one of the things that's really, really important for you guys, is to realize, unless it's that bad, always have a thermometer. There's one in the drawer there too. But one of the things, how did we used to do it when we checked our children? We kissed their forehead. I don't suggest doing that these days to anyone, but you can certainly feel them or have them feel themselves. But you can also hand a thermometer to them. And thank gosh we have other ones now. You know, there are different methodologies other than the old days. Every time we broke a mercury thermometer and called everyone out like hazmat. Now they just put it in people's, like, you know, fillings, and still do, unfortunately. So those were some of the things I kind of wanted to go over with. What can you do? In the back is not a lava lamp, by the way. This is actually what you call a hydrogen water bottle in here. And those are really, really, again, they come in a variety of sizes, prices, and stuff like that. But I put my spring water in there, and in less than 2-3 minutes, you can look at different ones, hydrogen water. You're going to see a lot about water, deuterium water, stuff like that. So those are kind of nice to have, and it provides the ambiance. So I wanted to leave that with you. If you have any questions or you would like to have any therapies or discuss different things, we can certainly go into that. One of the things as well, I just wanted to mention just in passing, if it's something that any one of you, and I'm going to put some frequencies on for you guys here right before we leave, is a lot of times the first time when I see anyone, any client whatsoever, is that I'm going to go in and I am going to start playing those frequencies. So I scan the client, and in under 3 to 4 minutes, it's already working in the back. I can also put straps to their feet or to their hands, or just put this through the headphones while I'm doing the reflexology or while I'm doing the massage or any of these other things. Really, really important. So like I said, it's really nice to have these here and take a look at the frequencies. And a lot of clients actually like to see what's going on with them, right? And then I can explain to them what is going on. Most people don't know this because you don't usually see me putting it on, but I have a body viewer. So all those things you see on the Baxter, hi, this is a med bed. Well, we have it too, okay? I just find it kind of distracting when I'm trying to talk to people. But like you see this, all they're doing is taking devices like this, jacking it up into a TV or into a monitor. So I can make it look as big as the wall too if I wanted. I used to do that for trade shows. So these are one of the things. So let's just take some nice few minutes here. I'm going to do a couple tuning forks. We're going to listen to this. I want you to take some quick deep breaths. Let's just all get grounded. Let's just forget about the day. If you've got smudge or you've got some essential oils, certainly put that on. I'm probably going to be steaming here now that we've got a steamy chair ready to go. That's going to be my Friday evening, my gift to myself. So while we have these things on the go, I want you just to relax. We'll close our eyes and just about think about someone that we love, someone that you miss, someone that you have a connection with, someone maybe you haven't talked to in a long time. I want you to just energetically give them a big hug. Just your presence around them. I want you just to find that individual, and we're just going to cloak them in all the colors. I like, people say the rainbow, but there's so much more beyond it. Almost like thinking of, you know, the abalone, the shell that we have, the mother of pearl, all those beautiful colors within there, or just a crystal sparkling. So as we get our feet basically on the ground, nice deep breaths in and out, in through the nose. We could do a 3-3-3-3 this week. Last week it was 4, so we'll do 3 this week. So in through the nose through 3, and hold it for 3. And remember, when you're taking your in breath, your stomach goes out. You have to consciously learn this in breath work. So deep breath in through the nose for 3. Expand your stomach. If you're having trouble, then put one on your stomach, or put both on the stomach, one on the heart and the stomach. Whatever it is for you to remember. I breathe in. Stomach expands like a balloon. I'm going to hold it for 3 and out through the mouth for 3. And just hold there for 3 seconds. 3 heartbeats is not long. So back in again. and hold and out. Just give the shoulders a little bit of a shake. Just relax and literally let it go. So in there, we're going to be listening to that, those vibrations. I've got 600 and some frequencies for you guys right now. Is that not exciting? That should be exciting. And then I'm just going to get some tuning forks. And again, these are different things you can use with or without. If you're not great at getting your bull to sing, get a rubber mallet. Nice deep breaths. Enjoy that. Notice what you notice. You're feeling hotter or colder. Do you feel something moving through your head, your chest, your feet? Where is it different today? Notice what you notice. Bring your toys out. This should be your playroom. It's my playroom. I just let other people come in it, that's all. Okay, so all the different frequencies. And start head to toe or toe to hip. What people, and this is one of the things I find they neglect to tell you, is that if this is my client and I want to do 432, I don't just hit 432 and play in the field. Ideally, you should have two 432s and that you're playing with them with the same on each side here. Okay? And as I said, always have a couple weighted ones. You know, minimum 128. So as you go through this, enjoy. My bear's enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying this, learning something, right? See how low we can go here. So again, take the time to be kind to yourself. If you're kind to yourself, other people really want to know what you're doing. And that's where we do. We've got to learn to walk our talk and talk the walk and do something. I'm going to bring something. I used this the other night because I use it once in a while for clients, but I'm going to show you actually a little bit about what I was talking about because they don't always get what is this biofield thing happening here. I love this. Thank you to Holly. Holly lives down our thing. And she says, oh, you're a Vedma, the mother and all that, like the Anastasia Ringing Cedars are Russian. And right, White Bear is Tartarian. Those are the bloodlines. We have original AB positive bloodlines. Everyone's got different bloodlines. Know yours. But one of the things I was showing here, and I want you to see this, it's really kind of cool when you actually kind of look at some of this here, is that my little guys, or women, your babas, babushkas, or whatever, your little Russian dolls, you know how they kind of like fall in here, right? And you put one into the other. These are great toys, but it actually became one of my best little teaching tools here. Okay. This is your biofield. We always tend to look at it, you know, this is my aura sitting out here on the center, and that this is my field around me, right? Or you'll see it going vertically, or you'll see it getting staggered. But sometimes people forget what I'm showing you right now. That is you on the biofield here. That's your field around you. It's got to be intact. It can't be gray. It can't be like all these really low vibration. This is someone I worked on her for 2 hours. So of course she looks all pink, hot purple and turquoise, you know, but she didn't look like that when I started with her a couple hours ago. But I want you to see something. This is you with the first biofield and the second biofield here. And then the third. There's like many little yous and mini me's. Okay. This is you out here. Okay. That's you. And this is the next field and the next field and the next field. Right? So if they can use something by frequency to disconnect you off that field, that's why it doesn't light up. And how can I see that? Because I have a Genius biofeedback scanner. So like I said, if someone got it, I think this is one of the most inexpensive biofield scanners I've ever seen, let alone what you can do to it. But that is actually why. So does that make sense? So what happens is they come in with frequency. So we'll just say this is a timeline. This is like your liver. This is your gallbladder. That's your large intestine. There's your colon. So you go to sleep here, and guess what they're playing with at night with all the EMFs in the 5, 6, 7, 8G. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. So that's why it's really, really important to realize what we're trying to say here and get the idea of what is happening. You have to get in touch with that. And there are many different ways that we can do that. There's a great question there, and I'm just going to check the chat room before I head off here and go steam. Please mention the Biomat website and her name again. Okay, it's Christina. I'll put it on here now that I've got free hands here. Other things, Lemurian plugs. I have got so much EMF stuff and coding, and I was talking to Tony Panfloresco till like 2 a.m. the other day. I'm going to tell you, with all the EMF and the toques and the silver lining and this and that, and about a year ago, because I checked it about a year ago, and I put my phones in and stuff like that and checked them on EMF, and they were okay. I had someone over the other day, and he phoned my phone, and I went to go show him because it was working. I mean, I've used it on smart meters. I've used it to protect from the satellites and stuff. And I went to go do it the other day, and it doesn't work anymore. So because that 6, 7, 8G and things are in there, things are changing. So I'm going to order in some Mission Darkness and some other stuff in, because you know what? You may have to double wrap some stuff too. And you really better be taking this EMF stuff down at night, because this is when it's getting the worst ever, on here. So one of the things I'll put it on here. So it's Biomat-Canada. And it doesn't matter. She can put it anywhere in the world. It's just what she happened to do it because she was up here. Okay. I keep putting, that's not it. Canada, trying to type in the back. I guess we should put some light on maybe if we need. We can only do so many things without the lights. Biomatcanada.com, and it's Christina Van Aert. Okay, so there's that. There's a 250 company in there, and I'll leave again my email. It's just easier for this. I have a Calm 13, but I like the Clan Mother one. It's just easier for me. KALN mother13@gmail.com. So those might be really helpful for you. Okay. So take some of these, put it in the filing cabinet as I did. Take it under advisement and see what you want to do. And don't hesitate to do what you need to do to make things comfortable for you, right? Like I said, there we go. It's starting to actually steam up here. It's got a light steam going to it. And what I usually do, we'll crank it up. I also put some essential oils normally in there, right? But as you see that, there you go. And that's going to be steaming. And I'm going to be on it in 15 minutes. So while you guys are out playing and going out for the weekend, I'm going to have my own tea party, a steamy tea and steamy chick party. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I am Karen Ann McDonald, part of the Lucid clan, the Lucid tribe, and the McDonald one. So thanks for joining me. You guys take care. Pass this down to some friends. And again, if you want to get a hold of me, if you're interested, as I said, all those apps are basically on sale right now. And 2 of the Genius packages are 40% off. I have never seen this. So if that's something that actually really excites you, or what you can do if you have a friend or you want me to do a demo, that is important. I will do demos for you people. However I can help out to the community, that's what we're here to do. And look at that. Daria's in here. Oh, look at, and Miss Dempsey's in here, and a lot of the other people. Margaret, it's amazing to see you guys. So
in there, in talking with some of this stuff too, just remember that the stuff does not have AI. And I want you guys just to remember that. So if you have a friend or a neighbor or a loved one, yesterday, a friend of mine, two of my clients called me up, and her mom had been double injected, we'll just say. And they know, some of them know, and some of them actually do care, right? And they're not sometimes as affected or as compromised yet, but they want to have quality of life. So again, those are people as a rule, like I said, as long as we don't PEMF them. Those wands and stuff like that, I've seen them work for some people, but I've also seen people go into severe congestive heart failure, you know, and sometimes people need to weigh out the difference here. But not everything is being targeted. We're all being subjected to the same things. It's what you're doing in there. So if you can eliminate other sort of electrical magnetics, that is going to be a lot easier on you guys. So if there's any questions on here, and I think I'll bring out my Kalima board next week because it could be fun. And we'll maybe show you how to do a little bit of navel candling and ear candling. And this is starting to bubble up. You can see it's starting to hiss and starting to steam here a bit. It doesn't take long. And the nice thing, if you want, you can actually boil up like probably 6-8 cups, and actually you can strain it or not, but you can actually boil it up a day ahead of time and get it really super saturated. God, you could almost put your like compost in there if you wanted. And one of the things in there is, like I said, you can actually then use a little bit out every day. And again, that water could again be used for enemas, or again, a little bit into the bathtubs. But definitely in there, we were talking, whatever you're doing for a facial steam, you can certainly do here. So do take a look at that. And you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. And enjoy it, because it's going to be lots of fun. There's lots of strange things going on. You're going to see me putting on the Facebook. Anyone see that part of Lake Erie just disappeared? Okay. So on my Twitter and on my Facebook, just because you assume you have something doesn't mean it's going to be there. I'm talking to a lot of different hereditaries, right? And they're not happy that one government wants to give another little government, which is the same government. Remember, a Banner Reserve is the same as a Crown Corporation subsidiary. It's just an agent for it. It's a front for it. So there's a lot of hereditaries not very happy about what's going on. And I don't blame any of us. I really don't. So we need to get this in. It's all about truth, not giving things away that never belonged to these certain, families in the first place. Hereditaries are totally different, guys. Signatories are totally different. That's not the same as a native. Native, Indian, savage, signatory are all different terms in law. And it's almost like a caste system. So when they're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, it's not going to go over too far. So I'm going to start putting some of those things back up. It's been a while, but I'm starting to put them back up. And like I said, where you think you had land and water, you may not. That's not the first time. I have seen 3 lakes drained within a matter of days. And it's not just that, we had a wind or we had the waves up, or all in Michigan was a mess, but Lake Erie, part of it disappeared. Okay. And all you see is that. And never assume that it's always going to be there. I will tell you, when I was in Saskatoon, it's one of the rivers that goes backwards, kind of like the Mississippi thing. Just a hint, I'm telling you. That can be changed at any time. And one day I went out for a walk, and guess what? There was no water in the river. There was like 20, 30 feet missing. Okay, it was repiped out right before, at the beginning of the sitting. It went obviously to cool something underground. Okay, no one ever talked about it, but I have all the pictures there. So let's keep our heads up, be wise, be diligent, and keep aware. And I love the comments coming in. It's great. And, it's really steaming up here. I think it's maybe facial time here first. Anyway, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. And I think I might do one Tuesday or Wednesday. So just take a look for that on my Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and Telegram. We might be doing those. Okay, take care.